Hugo Martin, the creative director of Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal, started as a guy who seemed to get what made Doom great. He helped bring the series back to life, ditching modern shooter trends and giving us a fast, brutal and no-nonsense action game. But much like George Lucas with Star Wars, the more control he got over the franchise, the more things started to go off the rails. Just like Lucas, Hugo Martin has a habit of overcomplicating things that didn't need fixing, changing his own story halfway through, and making statements that either contradict what's in the games or are so vague that nobody really knows what's going on anymore. At this point, Doom fans are basically living in the Star Wars prequel era, confused, frustrated, and wondering how we got here. One of the biggest mistakes Lucas made with Star Wars was over-explaining everything. In the original trilogy, the Force was this mystical energy that gave Jedi their powers, cool, simple, mysterious. Then came the prequels, and suddenly we had midi-chlorians and space politics nobody asked for. Hugo Martin did the same thing with Doom. Classic Doom was simple. Marine fights portal to hell, demons invade, Marine kills everything. Even Doom 3, for all its horror elements, kept the premise straightforward. Doom 2016 struck a great balance. It teased deeper lore but didn't shove it down your throat. It gave players just enough to be intrigued while still letting the gameplay do the talking. Then Doom Eternal came along and suddenly we had Sentinel politics, makers, prophecies, and enough lore dumps to make a Dark Souls game blush. Instead of being a badass space marine killing demons, the Doomslayer was now some kind of ancient warrior with god-tier powers tangled up in celestial bureaucracy. It's the same mistake Lucas made, taking something raw and exciting and drowning it in unnecessary complexity. Let's talk about one of the biggest inconsistencies, the betrayer. Back in Doom 2016, everything pointed to the Doomslayer being the betrayer. The testaments heavily implied it, the lore lined up, and made perfect sense. He was a guy who had lost his son, got screwed over by hell, and now he's on a never-ending revenge mission. That's a cool backstory. Then Doom Eternal comes out and boom, the betrayer is a totally different guy. And fans asked about it. Hugo Martin basically always said that Doom guy and the Doomslayer were always the same guy. Instead of admitting that the story changed, Martin pretended like this was always the plan, despite Doom 2016 clearly sending up something different. This is exactly what George Lucas did with the Star Wars prequels. He changed Vader's backstory so much that it barely resembled what was hinted at in the originals. Instead of being a power-hungry Jedi who fell to the dark side, Anakin was now some whiny dude manipulated by Palpatine because he was scared of losing Padme. It didn't line up with Empire Strikes Back, but Lucas just acted like it all made sense. Martin pulled the same stunt with Doom Eternal, and fans are still trying to make sense of it. One of the most frustrating things about Hugo Martin's interviews is that he rarely gives a straight answer. Ask him a direct lore question and you'll probably get something like, well, we'd like to leave that open for interpretation. Or, the Doom universe thrives on mystery. Or, it's whatever you want it to be. Translation, I don't want to commit to an answer because I might change it later. This is just lazy storytelling. There is a difference between leaving some things mysterious and straight up dodgy questions about your own story. Classic Doom never needed tons of explanation because it wasn't trying to be an epic sci-fi saga. But once you introduce a deep lore, you need to actually commit to it, otherwise it just becomes a mess. Again, look at George Lucas. He constantly changed his story, contradicting past statements and making everything way more confusing than it needed to be. For example, Vader's redemption, Leia being Luke's sister, the weird backstory of the Jedi. Hugo Martin is doing the exact same thing with Doom. Now we've got Doom Dark Ages coming up, and Martin has already said they are going to do it way differently than Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal. But what does that mean? Are they scrapping the whole mythology they built up in Doom Eternal? Are we going to get another half-baked lore shift? Fans are already asking, who is the Rage? Are we actually going to see him? Will the Night Sentinel's lore stay the same, or is that getting rewritten too? At this point, it's hard to trust that Doom Dark Ages will fit into the story smoothly. If his story tells us anything, it's that Martin will probably shift the narrative again, give some vague responses in interviews, and act like this was all planned from the start. Hugo Martin helped revive Doom, but now he's falling into the same trap that George Lucas did with Star Wars. He's overcomplicating the story, contradicting himself, and changing things on the fly without addressing the inconsistencies. Instead of letting Doom be Doom, he's trying to turn it into some epic, lore-heavy saga when that was never the point of the series. If he keeps going down this path, Doom is going to end up like Star Wars, a franchise that keeps rewriting itself, frustrating its own fans, and losing what made it great in the first place. Doom Guy doesn't need midichlorians, ancient prophecies, or convoluted sentinel history. He just needs a gun and some demons to rip apart. Maybe it's time Hugo Martin remembers that.